I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
That's Sparky.
And Salty and Chip.
We're about to do this is the black metal thing again.
Yeah.
I can't quit you. Well, we did the Christian song yesterday.
Yeah.
So we're going from there to Mgla. Sure.
Mgla? It's M-A.
It's MGLA, isn't it? MGLA. You know, somebody like the very first time we did Cradle of Filth or whatever.
Yeah.
Somebody suggested this band.
Yep.
And 2.5 months later, here we are! You hold me. All right, let's go.
Go. Oh my gosh, I am a fan of this band. Woo! They're very good.
Very melodic.
Wow.
God almighty.
Yeah.
Right after this, we need to listen to the actual studio version.
Oh yeah.
I think it'll probably sound even better.
Oh my word. First of all, they mesh order and chaos very well.
Yeah.
Oh my
These
gosh.
guys are good.
Yes, they are.
God almighty.
Oh my word.
The melody was crazy.
Yeah.
What a...
I'll tell you what, I love it when friggin' vocalists sound desperate. That makes me like, wow.
The name of the record is Exercises in Futility, and it looks like they just did 6 songs and they just named it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Interesting.
Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I could friggin' sit down and listen to this whole record right now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, like right after this, we're gonna play the studio version.
Yeah.
See if there's a difference, but God Almighty, they did. Really,
If the live version isn't in here, it's because they blocked it and I had to take it out. But
no, they're not.
They probably won't. But just
they're
in
not
case.
big enough to block this one.
Wow.
God Almighty, that was
Yeah.
The aesthetic was very interesting, like the way that they.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. Of course,
Yeah.
I felt bad for them at first.
Faceless.
Because I'm like, wow, it must be not easy to breathe in there.
Well, I was just worried about playing. It's like, how do you know where to, if you're a stickler on making sure you hit your notes and your tones good.
Honey, when you're good, like I remember when I was playing the guitar regularly, I used to play in the dark on purpose.
Well, it's not complex stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
They weren't playing
you're
very
playing,
complex
you
stuff.
just know. It's not even that you feel the frets anymore. Like you just, like,
Yeah.
you just know. It's like you just know where it belongs.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that they've played this friggin' so many times that they don't even even need to see it. But the breathing thing was like, oh, I don't like not being able to.
God Almighty.
But okay, I'm like these lyrics, very interesting.
Very provocative lyrics for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay.
But once again,
What?
like, you have to know your Bible to
Yes.
know a lot of
It's
the shit
so
that he's saying.
crazy.
That's like when people yesterday were talking about the song, they're like, "Oh, we don't talk about the Bible."
Well, the artists are bringing it into it. We're not doing it. Like that middle part there, I was like, what? What? And then I was confused. I'm like, wait, is this actually like supposed to be a Christian band?
No, this is a black metal band. But they put out the struggle pretty real there.
Yeah, they did. You know, when he first started his vocals, I was like, wasn't sure if I liked him at first.
Yeah.
But then they grew on me mad quick.
Yeah.
And then when he hit the desperate stuff at the end, I was like, it's over. That's it.
This is probably my favorite black metal song of all the songs that we've listened to.
Absolutely.
And that's hard because it was live, and the
Yeah.
Dimmu Borgir was a lot better as far as sound quality
Yep.
than these guys are. But I don't know.
This one
something
hit me
else.
right in the feels.
Something else
Oh yeah.
about this band is very interesting.
Yep.
I'm assuming. Go ahead.
I think part of it too was like my brother would do some shit like that. Like he'd put on that coat and cover his face and put the hood on. That is totally so. Then anything that like makes me think of my family too is kind of like I'm like oh
Yeah.
like so I think I already had and then they just wrecked it. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. What were you saying? I'm sorry.
Well, no, I'm assuming that the term exercises in futility is looking at the world from a nihilistic perspective, that everything is futile and empty.
Oh. I guess I didn't take it that way, but yeah.
But we'll see. Those are assumptions I'm making. So I remember the time I showed you all the pics that I got from the Slipknot show. This is Mick. This is number 7's pick that he gave me in 2001. Yeah. I'm down to this one.
You should ask him how that keeps happening.
The one that I got from Jim Root, which is actually literally my favorite pick of all time. Not because it was from Jim, but because of the playability.
What color was it?
Is also missing in action. So you guys can be praying about that. Okay. So you want to get into the lyrics?
Yeah. What color is that pick? I want to know.
It's like grayish.
Grayish. All right. I had a feeling.
Gray black. And
Okay.
it says number 4 on it.
Okay. Keep my eye out. You could just put it back in the desk when you're done with it. It'd be so simple to find.
As if you didn't know how it feels to lose.
As if you didn't know how it feels to lose at dice with fate. So stuff's not going right for them.
Yeah.
And they're like, fate is the roll of it.
The roll of the dice.
Yeah.
Everything in your life is a roll of the dice.
Yeah, and you know what? It's true about like rolling the dice stuff, because some people are lucky as hell.
It's true.
Like it just is. It's just they're lucky. I don't know how. I mean, I don't know how else you want to explain that. But like, I had an uncle, the one that just passed away.
Yeah.
There was this big like car thing in the mall that you could win, and my dad didn't want that friggin' thing in our house. But my dad was like, yeah, sign up our son for it, because he didn't honestly think that he won it. My uncle won it. This big ass derby car. I don't know what it was, but yeah, this huge thing. I was like, what? He won all kinds of stuff. He played those slots like, and then other people, remember that other guy? Literally thousands of dollars and then be dumping in there.
What other guy? What are you talking about?
Remember? Just dumping tons of money in gambling, and he lost all the friggin' time.
Well, yeah, but yeah.
But yeah, but what?
I mean,
He still lost all the time. Some people are just lucky.
A lot of, yeah. I mean, yeah, the gambling industry is predicated on 90% of the constituents losing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but
I don't.
Yeah, but there's some people that like, I'm telling you, like when my uncle would go, he would, but then they would bring people with him, and they wouldn't do as well. I don't know what it is with them.
No, I agree. Like, you know, Cotter cuts both ways.
Yeah, you know, and that other blonde girl that we know. You remember you say she wins stuff all the time. I don't want to keep whispering to you. People
I keep
hate
missing
that.
codes.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, ugh. She wins all the time. Like every time I turn around, she's winning some
I have no idea
thing from her job. What the heck?
Who?
Like you said, she just keeps winning stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like some people, I don't win stuff. Like that doesn't happen. I'm not a winner for stuff like that. No way. All these people that probably get shirts, the winners of the shirts, I guarantee they've won other stuff in their life. And there's some person that's like, please, let it be this time that I'll win. And you just don't win.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm just saying, like, some people, when it rains, it pours. The dice just keeps, losing at fate.
The lot, was it Proverbs 16? The lot is cast into the lap, and the Lord determines the outcome.
Yep, that's what it says.
He
determines that I'm going to lose.
Man, man plans his steps, but the Lord ordains it.
There's something about a king, too.
Yeah,
the water or something.
Yeah. As if you didn't know how it feels to lose.
Yeah. At least I have some dignity.
At least have some dignity.
Oh, at least have some dignity. Who? Who should have some dignity?
The person who lost.
The person that's losing? Yeah.
It's like, like you're freaking out, you're losing your mind. It's like, have some dignity. We've all lost the dice roll with fate. Why are you acting like that? Of course, the person's probably in a really terrible situation.
Honestly, there are some people where it's like they don't realize that other people have gone through hard shit. Like, they act like they're the only ones that's ever suffered. They're the only ones that's ever, like, whatever. You're like, aren't you
Yeah, but they're not saying, like, think about other people. They're saying have some pride about yourself. Stop freaking out about it. You know what I mean? Like, as if it wasn't a lifetime spent on connecting the dots. There was no pattern. That's I was listening to Dillahunty, and he was talking about order in the universe or something like that. He was basically saying, we're pattern recognition machines. And so you think there's order in the universe, but there really isn't. It's just that you're predisposed to seeing a pattern. It's like when you're a kid and you see a guy in your room, and then you turn on the light and it's really just the coat hanger and the hat.
Yeah.
But you're like inclined to see a pattern. There is no pattern. Just somebody threw a coat and a hat and boom, it was random. But you created a pattern around that randomness.
Yeah.
And like that's their outlook on the world. Which, I mean, I think on the surface that makes sense. But when I think about mitochondria, it doesn't make sense to me. Mitochondria in a cell. Just the complexities of. It's not that it's complex. It's that we have engines and shit. We have like atomic level engines and DNA and all that shit.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that I'm like seeing a pattern. There is a pattern.
Right.
And like,
right.
It's like you look at Michelangelo and like, oh, it looks like there's a pattern.
Yeah.
You know, because you're a pattern. You know, both of those things can be true at the same time. We can be pattern identification machines, but there can also be patterns.
Right.
Like one doesn't militate against the other.
Well, I mean, you have to have.
God
You
almighty.
can't have one without the other. There has to be patterns for us to recognize some patterns.
Well,
If there was no patterns, we would never
Well,
see patterns in
well-
stuff that doesn't have patterns.
well, I agree with that, but of course, with the coat hanger thing, it's like you're seeing a pattern. There is a pattern there, and there's a sort of consistent cadence to that.
yeah.
But it did not come about with intentionality. Like there's no consciousness behind it. Like nobody said, I'm going to make this thing look like a guy. It just so happened that the pattern showed up randomly.
Yes, that pattern did. But the only reason you're seeing the form of a person is because there is a pattern of a person that exists in reality.
Right, and they're saying is that person came about randomly too. And what I'm saying is that I think that's.
Oh, I see.
I think that's.
I mean-
I think that's silly. It's like saying like, you know, because you can see like the clouds. Like, oh, you can see a car in the clouds sometimes. That means that all cars had no intentionality behind them. That's the issue. Like, no, like both of those things can be true. I could be a pattern recognition machine. And I can also realize when somebody intentionally created something.
Right.
And when I see an engine and a motor and shit that's very, very purposeful. And like we talk about like the reproductive system and the that system, it's like
Yep.
just random systems. Okay. But like that's an interesting line though. It wasn't a lifetime spent on connecting the dots. There was no pattern. There were no dots to
kind of dumb,
connect.
but I'm confused when he's saying, as if it wasn't. So if I say to you, as if you weren't trying to insult me, that means that you were trying to insult me.
Well, that's a modern use of the term as if.
So what? I mean, how old is it?
The general way of using as if is to say it's as if whatever. See what I'm saying?
It's as if it wasn't a lifetime spent on connecting the dots.
Like you're acting as if
There's some sentences that just don't make sense to me.
he's saying you're acting as if you didn't spend a lifetime trying to connect the dots,
Yeah.
not realizing that there
was no
pattern.
pattern. There was no way to connect the dots.
There were no
he's
dots
saying
to connect.
You did. You spent your lifetime trying to connect the dots.
Right.
But there is no. You can't connect them because there's no pattern.
You have to accept the reality that all the major quests that human beings have tried to embark on are completely futile and ridiculous. And
Okay,
the main
I see.
one being, what is the meaning of life?
Yeah.
And trying to find a way to bring all this together, which was one of the concepts of the university. Like that's one of the ideas of the university was we're gonna find a way to find the unity and the diversity and how all the dots are separate but they connect somehow, and that's our goal. And that was the point of being a Renaissance man, was to be able to basically master everything, because underneath it there was some sort of unifying logos that brought everything together. But there was no pattern. Of course, the irony in all of this is that they used
A pattern to create the song.
linguistic patterns, patterns of scale, patterns of meter,
Yeah.
to create this song in which they said there is no pattern.
Yeah, but.
Okay, whatever you say.
Yeah, but are they saying that there's no pattern in everything, or they're just saying there's no pattern in your suffering, there's no pattern in that?
Well, it's exercises in futility, so I'm assuming that they're taking a nihilistic perspective on the world. And so, there's no pattern to the universe because there's no ultimate meaning and all that good jazz. But it doesn't matter what it is. They're saying that there's no pattern, but they're using the English language, and they're using letters, and they're using irony, and the thing is chock full of patterns.
Right.
And that's the thing that gets me about these types of views of the world. They're always self-defeating when it gets into the artistic arena.
Yeah.
Like it's inherently self-stultifying,
Right.
And you got these people who are like clearly moved by the music, like and it's moving music.
for sure.
I can still hear the melody in my head.
I can still feel the melody.
Yeah, and it's like, but they're singing how there's no pattern. Where I've yet to actually listen to a band that just did patternless music. Just went bang.
I thought
boom.
that was Mayhem.
No, because there's still a
kidding.
scale.
I'm kidding.
I see what you're saying. Like, if you want, like, true chaotic, like, if you want the real spirit of Satan,
Go to preschool.
fucking just record your 3-year-old. No, even the 3-year-old would knock out a pattern.
No,
Yeah.
you'll go to preschool. There's no patterns. Like, bang, 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 bang. Yeah, but once in a while they do. They hit a pattern. You're like, hey, that kid can.
Yeah. That's real life consistency with nihilism. All right. As if the irony was more than a defense mechanism and we could actually laugh for a change. As if steel hooks in our back were more than a nuisance and we could actually feel something. Woo! That brings me back to the Hellraiser thing.
Oh.
Where the guy, like,
Yeah.
he was, like, so, like, inundated with, like, hedonism that he had to go the other way with, you know, sadomasochism to feel something because he because he you know, he's pretty much dented himself at that point. The irony was more than a defense mechanism, and we could actually laugh. Like, the idea that there is a pattern and a telos and a purpose in life is just a defense mechanism to protect you from the reality that everything is really empty and void.
Yeah. I remember you said that, you know, and I think I've brought this up before, when you were in New York, randomly people would just, acts of violence would just happen just on the subway or whatever. And so then you'd have to say, you'd have to, you know, make something up in your head, and be, oh, that's because that guy was doing this or that thing, because you wanted to bring some order to that chaos.
I saw some dude's face get sliced.
Yeah, I didn't know if you were going to say it, so.
That far ahead of me, that much in front of me. Straight down, and he's leaking, and it's like, what was the difference between him and you? But a couple feet.
Right.
Could have happened to you. So then you have to, like, create some sort of reason for why it happened, so that you could, like, defend yourself against the fact that he was just in that place at that time. There's nothing he did wrong. It was that simple. But you had to, like, create some order around it, because the reality that it could have happened to you at any given time was just too much.
You or somebody that you love.
Yeah, it was just too much to bear.
Yeah.
You know, but the fact of the matter is, there was no order to it.
No, because sometimes
from a human perspective.
It was just that random on their perspective. It was just, you know, sometimes, and I've heard, I mean, I've never been in a gang, but I've heard that gang initiation sometimes is just, you gotta go out and kill somebody, or go do something to somebody. Like, I've heard.
Yeah, you get jumped in, you get shot in, you get, you know.
So
the Bloods at the time were cutting people.
Right, so it is random in that sense, but, you know, but is there something behind it? Is there somebody behind it? You know, that's the question.
Yeah, and of course people say, like, well, no, there's no ultimate objective purpose in life, but you can make your own purpose in life. Which, of course, Nietzsche and these other people, like, I wish these people would read. Now, my homeboy Ryan Miller, like, he's read this stuff, so the conversations are different, but it's like, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful. That's the thing. But, you know, Peterson talked about this in his debate with Dillahunty. He's like, you guys haven't read Solzhenitsyn, you haven't read any of the major thinkers on this topic. But you've spent an entire career talking about atheism, and you haven't read anything about what the major thinkers in atheism have talked about. And Nietzsche talked about, like, you can build your own purpose, but that's just another defense mechanism. There is none. And it's like, you can create your own, but it's fake. It's like saying you could believe in Santa.
Why do people do that? Do you think that they're just lazy, or what?
Who's lazy?
People. Why don't they?
No, I don't think.
Before they say they believe something.
I don't think that. It's just like with Christianity. It's not that people are, you know, a person could watch a very inspiring Christian speaker on YouTube and say, hey, I'm a Christian now. That doesn't mean they've read Augustine and Aquinas and or the Bible, or, you know, like, now we've got a very deep, rich history, you know, in the Western world, you know. And so there are literally, like, thousands of very deep miles of literature that we can refer to on the west side of the church and the east side of the church. You know, Chrysostom on the east side, or just, you know, like, brilliant minds who just, you can live in a monastery and just, that's all you do and think. You know, like, you create that type of, you know, so it's like these, you know, they talked about this stuff. Like, these, like, little pat answers that they give. Like, oh, well, we can create our own meaning. Well, really? Can you? Because if there's no God and there's no true meaning, there's no real difference between your made-up meaning for yourself and Santa Claus. Just like how you say there's no difference between God and Santa Claus because it's a fairy tale. Well, so is your purpose in life. I was watching Dillahunty and Peterson go back and forth, and Dillahunty was talking about, morality and the best thing to do is alleviate suffering, and I'm not going to get into the morality discussion because I've talked about that ad nauseum on infinitum. There's a whole bunch of information. Email me if you want the clips. I can send them to you. Make your own decision. But he kept going back to, we have to do what's going to sustain life.
Yeah.
And Peterson said, why? And he said, because it sustains life. And he's like, we got to do what's going to promote life. And so he was talking about alleviating suffering and not killing yourself and things like that. And Peterson said, why? And he goes, because if you're dead, you're not alive. What he wasn't getting is why live.
Right. What's the purpose?
Why is life such a value?
Right, exactly.
That's the point he wasn't getting, and neither does the audience, because he said, because if you get your head chopped off, you won't be alive. And the audience goes, ha ha ha. And I'm like, okay.
Nobody's getting the point here.
It's like, okay. And that's like, it's like, why live?
Right.
You have no purpose. There's no pattern. So, you might like to live because you've created some, purpose for why you should get up in the morning. But I mean, if you're really this is really it. What he's talking about here is the way to go. I mean, I don't agree with him, obviously, and I don't think he agrees with himself. The reason that he made this record is because there's some purpose behind it.
Right.
He wants the catharsis of dealing with his worldview, I guess.
Wow.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, when he talks about exercises in futility, futility means emptiness, right? And so he makes an entire record called Exercises in Emptiness, which are extremely meaningful words and extremely meaningful musical arrangements.
Yeah.
That's why I say, like, if you want to criticize a worldview, enter into their universe. Don't say it from your universe.
Right.
Enter their universe and then see if it can stay consistent with itself.
Right.
And I think this is some beautiful shit. And you had to really sit and think about some really heavy, deep, meaningful shit to say that is anything but futile and empty.
Right. Yeah.
But anyway, self-crucified, missed the right tree. Tore the wrong eye out.
Yeah. The hissing of hellfire.
That was the real big one, right?
Yeah, that was the big one for me.
Why? What'd you get from it?
Well, that verse that says, like, if your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out because it's better that you enter life maimed than to go to hell.
Be
with
thrown
both your
into
eyes.
hell with both of your eyes intact.
Right. So he said, tore the wrong eye out, the hissing of hellfire. So it makes it sound like he thought that, and it kind of goes along with the first one, self-crucified, missed the right tree. So if you crucify yourself, then you're not real. But this is why I thought that he was a Christian band. Was because I'm like, if you miss the right tree and you crucified yourself, you miss the idea that it's Christ that has to be crucified. So you miss the right tree, and you try to crucify yourself or whatever. This is what I was getting from it. And then the next part was tore the wrong eye out, the hissing of hellfire is, it says if your right eye causes you to sin, then tear it out. So then the person, like, makes a mistake and tears the left one out and then still ends up in hell. Like, again, misses the point of what that is. I mean,
right.
You could friggin' pull both your eyes out and you could still be a lustful, terrible person. Like, it's a heart thing, and that's what kind of Jesus was getting at was, okay, well, even if I pull my eyes out, I can still be a terrible person. I can still go after all the sinful things I want. So then I'm like, okay, then that sin isn't something that's outward. It's like, it starts from within me.
Well, yeah.
What were you getting from it?
Yeah, and the heart is the problem.
Yeah.
Not your eyes. And
right.
The person said, well, so then you should rip your heart out? Yeah. Ezekiel 36 says, I'll take out of your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh.
Yeah, it's not a physical.
So
you're
actually,
not going to be all wide open and whatever.
I don't think that they thought that.
Yeah, but just for clarification, because there's always that one person who says, oh my gosh!
Oh, I know. Well, there are two thieves crucified with Jesus. And traditionally the good thief, they were both bad. They were both mocking Jesus. But anyway, the good thief was on his right side and the bad thief was on his left. So it's a pretty intelligent line. Missed the right tree, which means he was a bad thief on the left tree.
I didn't see that.
See what I'm saying?
So you think it was a triple?
What do you mean?
Or I guess that would be a double.
Self-crucified, missed the right tree. Yeah. Tore the wrong eye out, the hissing of hellfire. It is interesting, like, that it's sort of like, I tried religion, I tried to be a good person, and it failed.
Yeah.
You see it.
But if you look at it as miss the right tree, well, there was the way that you explained it and the way that I explained it. If it's the way that I explained, then he's saying, well, that Jesus was the right way, but he missed it. Like,
I don't think that's what he was saying.
So you think he's saying miss the right tree, as in what?
I think what he was saying
the guy on the right was the one that said, you know, like, remember me when you enter your kingdom. So if he missed that, how is he not saying that that was actually probably the right way?
Well, because notice how he's called. He's called the good thief.
Yeah.
He was a good person. People think that the good thief was a good person.
Okay.
Not realizing,
I've never heard anybody say that.
He's called the good thief, babe.
Well, I think they just mean that he was a thief. And he was hanging on a cross. He couldn't have been good.
I always thought that was overboard. Like, why crucify the guy because he was a thief?
Well, because he wasn't just a thief. That's why.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, if you look at the Greek word,
he was an insurrectionist.
He's a jihadist.
Right. He was fighting against the Roman government.
Yeah.
Wanting to overthrow them.
Yeah. I just seems like, are watching Vikings and the flagellation thing where people they sin and then they beat themselves up because they think that that's what God requires of them.
Yeah.
And so
why do they think that? Because it's never does it say anything, or at least I don't know.
About? Jesus said, tear your eye out.
Well, then why was that guy picking his eye out? Instead he was whipping himself. So if he was doing that as a way of tearing his eye out, but he wanted to keep his eye?
I mean, it's a method. The point is that if you read that verse in isolation, the point is, it would be better for you to suffer real temporal pain than to suffer eternal torment, is the idea.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, my interpretation of that passage is the minority view. My interpretation of the passage is that Jesus is putting you in a situation to make you realize that your eye isn't the problem, it's your heart. Because Jesus says, if.
Yeah.
If. There's an if there. It doesn't say your right eye is causing you to sin, therefore. What he's saying is if.
Yeah.
So my point is, Jesus is saying, if that was the issue, this is how you should solve the problem. But it still leaves the question. It still leaves a question there. Is that the issue? And
and that's when you're supposed to say
the entire scope of, you're supposed to understand that, okay, well, let's say that you got rid of your eye.
Your left eye is still lusting.
Okay, well, let's get rid of that. Okay.
Now your mind is still.
Well, your mind is still there.
Yeah.
It's okay, and you think about these progressions. It's okay, well, a girl should cover up with a hijab, make her wear a hijab. Okay, now she's wearing a hijab. Okay, well, her face is still visible, make her wear a burqa. Now, I'm pretty sure there's no hadith, there's no, nothing in the Sirah literature or the Quran that makes women wear a burqa.
Right.
But it's that thing that, this is the problem. Us seeing women is the problem.
Right.
And the Christians do, we were in that chat thing one time where Christians were telling women, not to wear yoga pants. Mm-hmm. And they were saying, please don't wear yoga pants because the lust, the hell is wrong with you? You tell a woman what she's going to wear because you can't handle your lust issue? But they're not realizing that it's their lustful heart that's the problem. It's not the woman's problem.
Yeah.
And I brought up how I had my Muslim friend, and he came from a culture where women covered up their hair, and my friend, she had blonde hair, beautiful young lady, and then sure enough, he's like, I will buy you a hijab, you're causing me to struggle, and everybody was laughing. It's it's the same concept when you tell a woman she can't wear yoga pants. Mm-hmm. So I think what he's saying is he is doing all the things to cause himself to suffer, but he keeps missing out because it never solves the problem. So the only thing that's left for you is the hissing of hellfire.
And maybe this is opening up too big of a thing, but that's why, remember I was talking to that person and they were saying, I believe that all pedophiles should be castrated.
Right.
Is that why you were saying that's not going to
It's not going to do a damn thing. It's not going to do a damn thing. I mean, it'll make it so that they won't reproduce. But if you're that fucked up in the head to where you do that to a child, and you know what? I shouldn't even say that. We got 40,000 people looking at us.
I know.
There's probably some. Look, there's redemption for everyone. As a Christian, that's what we believe. So let me just go back and say, if you're in that type of situation, castration is not going to solve the mental issues there.
Right.
Like I think that's a crazy idea. Mm-hmm. Like, but you know what? It's a secular version of the same concept. If we cut off this member of the body, that would change a person's heart. It won't.
Right.
They'd still be going after little kids, believe me.
Right. Yeah.
So, like, you know, and I, you know.
I mean, it would deter some of them, I would think.
I think there's enough social pressure and social deterrence for pedophiles.
I hear what you're saying.
They're the last.
I feel
they're
like
the last group of people in the Western world that you can actively
go after
without any sort of social repercussion.
Yeah.
And you know, rightly so.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's a deterrent for those guys.
Yeah.
I mean, you're ostracized.
It's like I said before. It's gonna be.
You're ostracized forever.
Yeah.
You can kill somebody. you can murder somebody in cold blood and find a place in society after you do your time.
Yep.
But you do that shit to kids, it's a wrap.
Yeah.
People, and you go to prison. You're like, you know, my brother. I mean, worked with these people.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These guys. He's like, if they make it.
Yep.
Because they really take care of people.
Yep.
That do that shit. But
yep.
For this, I've gained a victory. I burn as I ought to. But that's true. Like, if people don't...
I don't even know what those people should do.
What do you mean?
Like, I can't imagine being in a situation in which you can't really, like, you would be... Like, I remember, like, which we've talked about this before. Like, growing up, like, I felt like I had lesbian tendencies. And I couldn't talk to anybody about it because of the circle that I was in. Like, you couldn't say that. And
right.
I was like, what, friggin' late 20s before, you know, I met you. And I probably was in my 30s when I told you.
Yeah.
You know, and you were the first person that I felt like it was safe enough to talk. So, and that's something that, like, society is accepting of. Like,
right.
Shoot, there's circles I would have gone in and said that I would have been completely accepted, you know, brought in and loved on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But, like, that...
Yeah, and that's why that's why I corrected myself, because nobody wakes up and says, you know what? I'm going to be a fucking pedophile.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I have serious forgiveness issues with those with people with that in that situation.
Yeah.
And I mean, there was a guy, and you know,
yeah,
I had it was right before church, and I ran into him on the street, and I had some, you know.
Oh, I know.
I mean,
I know. And the thing is, like, yeah, I'm like, don't misread me. Like, I'm not okay with that at all.
No,
but I'm thinking, I keep thinking, like, whenever the subject comes up or I hear something or whatever on the I think to myself, what the fuck would I do if I was in their situation? How do you get help? Because it seems like wherever you go, they need to get help.
I agree with that.
But because we hate it so much and it's so disgusting to us, I don't see how we can help. That's why, like, I'm saying, like, I couldn't get help growing up. Yeah. Because that was so, like, rejected by the circle of people that I was in.
We're not equating being a lesbian.
No, I'm not equating. I'm just saying
in your culture, you would have been ostracized. So
right.
You had to be,
so I couldn't say
in our wider culture, right? So like, let's say that let's say that a person has an inclination to that.
Yeah.
And they're trying all this stuff, crucifying themselves, tearing the wrong eye out, and they're still. And
that's
it's interesting.
What I'm saying.
Says, I burn as I ought to. And what does that mean? Does it mean that you're burning in hell, you know, in your own personal hell? Or are you burning... There's lots of, you know, Peterson talks a lot about, he believes in hell, and he's talking about, you know, people's own internal conflicts and all the rest of it, right? So it's like, you've got people who are really burning with anger, rage, self-hatred, self-crucifixion,
right.
Self-flagellation because of this, and so it's like... That's why I had to pull back and qualify and say, there's got to be a way to help people, because I do think that there's people that wake up and they're like, yeah, I love this shit, this is awesome. But I also think there's people that are like fighting like hell against it.
Right. And I think that's the group of people I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the people who specifically position themselves where there are so they can take advantage of that situation.
Yeah, like
I'm not talking about that.
Yeah, like you're that type of person, and I mean, society's going to correct itself.
I'm talking about the person that probably most likely got molested when they were a kid.
Absolutely.
So
almost guaranteed. That's what my brother says.
Their sexual box was broken open in an environment that was unhealthy, that was terrible, whatever. Even if the person was coming at them in a loving way, like it doesn't always have to be some scary scene. It's still terrible.
And they're screwed up for life.
Right, because in their mind they can't, like, there's so many things that you have to, like, is it my fault? Did I do blah, blah, and then if some people it ends up making it so that way, then they become a predator themselves, and so like that's so much for the one soul to bear, especially if they're like, this, I shouldn't be doing this, you know what I'm saying? Like, but then society, and then there are like parts of our society that are coming around, like I heard it, they were saying like, well, that they're
there are elements like in Europe, they're trying to normalize this and like, trying to be progressive and all that shit.
Yeah. We're not going to do that.
Yeah.
But we got to have help for these people.
No, I agree. I agree. It's a crazy situation, but it's a terrible situation to be in.
Yes, and again,
good Lord,
I know people mishear what we say. I'm not equating, being a lesbian or homosexuality with pedophilia. I'm not equating the two of those.
No, we're just talking about in evangelicalism, you'll get ostracized, and then in the wider society now, these are people who will get ostracized. And
the thing is, the more, like, my parents had like I wouldn't say like a position. Our family was very, very looked up to in the church that we went to. I mean, I think people thought we were sinless. So it was even more pressure that I couldn't say that, because that was already big, even if your family wasn't. So the more, I guess, the more, like, I don't know how to say it, but like, let's say this person like has like this official job and like they're a well put together person and they're having this problem, it's going to be even harder for that person to get help than the person who's there's some people that you kind of wouldn't be too surprised.
It's the last criminalized, I'm saying, in our mind, inclination in our society. Like the very inclination for it automatically is criminalized in our mind. In this culture.
Yeah, for sure.
So and people want us to have, pedophile, let's kill him, but they want us to like do that, and the reason I'm holding back from doing that is because it pushes them into the shadows and the margins, which then creates, like he says, for this I've gained a victory, burn as I ought to. So if you continuously push people back in that situation and say, and don't tell them, look, we'll help you without judging you. Like, everybody loves us for not judging people, but these particular people, they want us to judge them, right? Yeah. And like I said, I'm not good at this particular topic. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm not, and I've had.
That's not the only altercation you've had with people in that situation either.
No, I've had some altercations with people. Mm-hmm. So it's more to myself than anybody else, because most of our viewers wouldn't go and have an altercation with somebody. Right. So, I get it, but our way of handling them obviously is not working. Pushing these people into the margins and not getting them help is not working. Especially with the internet now, forget it.
Yeah. Right, because you leave them alone with their computer.
As if everything was to be made right one day. Uh-huh. Dreams don't come true for people like us.
I thought that was so sad.
I know, I saw you. You don't like stuff like that when people say that.
No, because I feel like, the verse that says, hope deferred makes the heart sick. Yeah. So I feel like that their heart is sick because they have no hope, and I feel like when you're hopeless, man, so, and I feel like that there's some instances where somebody would say, oh, like, stuff just never goes well for me. Like, there's people that we've met that literally, they keep putting themselves in bad situations, they keep making bad decisions for themselves, and then the minute that they want to make a slight change in their behavior, people jump right up, buy them a bunch of stuff, set them up, like legit set them up, and then they fuck it up. And then they say, and each time they say, nobody ever helps me. That's how they get the next person to actually help them a bunch, is because they keep out with this lie saying, nobody's ever helped me. I've never been helped all my life. But I feel like that there's other people where they legit feel like dreams don't come true for people like us. Like that's because something that they completely accepted, and they're not using it as a manipulative tool to get what they want. Like it's just something like dies or gets like low inside them where they actually feel like that's it. Like there's nothing for us. But realizing that there's more of them, it just made me sad. I was like, oh no, because it's not true. Like, especially, you come from our worldview. Every single person has value. They have value to God. They have value to each other, and like that's why we say like, the things. I don't know. Anyway, it just makes me sad when people feel like that or think like that because it's so untrue.
Yeah, I'm not sure how untrue that is.
What? Dreams don't come true for people like us?
Yeah, I think that there's whole swaths of people who dreams won't come true for them.
Well, it depends on what your dreams are.
Well, basic shit, like, I don't know. Well, let's say you were born as an untouchable in India, and you had dreams of having, a smidge of dignity. You're gonna live and die in that circumstance. Millions of people are in that situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess, and maybe I'm, that verse that talks about, like, basically that God doesn't withhold anything good from, what's that verse?
There's a lot of them. He doesn't hold anything, delight yourself in the Lord, you give you the desires of your heart. He withholds no good thing from his people, blah, blah, blah.
That one, that's what I'm thinking of, because God is their good. So,
yeah.
So I guess when I'm thinking that, like, this sounds like somebody who is never going to have an ounce of good. And there are people who went through really terrible situations, and because they found God in the midst of that situation, like they found good in it. And that was, I'm sure, if you're in a terrible situation and you've lost all hope, and the only thing that you have is a nihilistic mindset, that every ounce of suffering you're doing is for nothing.
I don't think that particular line is particularly nihilistic. See, I didn't react the way that you did because I've made peace in my heart with certain things about certain dreams that I had about my life that are not going to come true. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like I made that peace with myself, and it was helpful because hope deferred makes the heart sick, but constant disappointments also make the heart sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, at some level you have to kind of take a realistic view of the world. So it's like I'm not sure that's a wrong way to look at the world. Like I always say to myself, like I'm not sure if I don't have certain mentalities as sort of defense mechanisms to make sure that I'm not constantly hurt or disappointed about something. Where you still have this like innocence about you that I don't have. So I don't know. Maybe I can learn something from you. Who knows? As if the gods are bored with people.
I know.
It's a good line.
That was so weird.
It's a very good line.
Think about that.
As if the God were bored with peace in our hearts and their fingers were itchy.
That's gross. I don't actually like that line at all. I don't like stuff itching.
Yeah.
Grosses me out. And how are you going to have itchy fingers? Itchy fingers. But I understand that's not what they're trying to communicate. I know I'm just like, whatever. But
that's a good line though. Like, things are going okay, you feel relatively good, and then boom, something always happens.
Yeah,
like,
so the gods got bored with your peace and your heart.
Yeah, let's just fucking love.
Yeah. As if we never broke people out of sheer boredom and slept calmly among the wastes. Yeah. That's so fucked up, right?
Yeah, it's this idea that the gods are just capricious.
Saying, as if the gods were bored with peace in our hearts and their fingers are itchy. But then he goes, as if we never broke people out of sheer. So like, how are you going to judge the gods when you've done the same thing? You've broken people because you were bored. Because as if we never broke people out of sheer boredom and slept calmly among the wastes. So we've done the same damn thing.
I don't know if that's a part of human nature. Like, we just fuck with people because we're bored?
I've heard people say that. I've literally heard people say it. Didn't make any sense to me because I'm not like that.
No, I think that's true.
But I have heard of people saying that. Like, shoot, the kids do it. They get bored and then they start picking at each other.
I forgot about high school.
Okay, so this happens.
We got out of the post office delivering those shirts and those guys were beefing.
Yeah.
And like you were walking towards it and I was walking towards it. And then I was like, what am I doing? I went to the car. We drove by. They didn't want anything. They were just, but it's exciting. That type of conflict. I remember being in that situation.
I'm not sure. Like, I think part of it is a little bit of excitement for me, but then part of it is, I don't know, maybe I'm like very arrogant in my thinking, but I think I need to go fix this problem.
Well,
like
we've
what
done
makes
it.
me think that I can? Yeah.
Well, we've done it.
Well, yeah, I know.
We've gone in the middle of those situations and.
I know, but a lot of the times when we go in the middle of those situations, because you're going to take the time to keep teaching these people. We don't have time to do all that. We're doing this channel. So
Well,
I'm like, I don't know.
Sometimes it's that, and sometimes it's just, you got to be the voice of reason that saves everyone's ego,
Yeah.
because that's all that's
You're
happening
right,
in those
that's-
conflicts. So like, if you can go in there and save people's ego, then there won't be any jihad. But it is true though. It is true. Like, you know, the whole idle hands of the devil's play shop or whatever it is. It's like boredom happens, and then you just start doing some really crazy shit.
That's true.
I was watching some special where these kids went and killed this other kid, and they were like, "How could you do this?" And they were looking for some giant existential. We were bored. That's what the kid said.
Oh my gosh.
There you go. So it's one of those things where it's like the gods, like it is interesting. Like the gods, like the Greek pantheon especially, they reflect human nature. Like it's just, you know, they fight among each other and then they argue with each other and there's politics and all that shit. And then, you know, and then they look down on us and they're like the gods are a lot of the times are just what we would do if we had that type of power.
Yeah. Yeah.
But a lot of, but I think that those stories come about because you're trying to figure out why is it that we can never just have a sustained peace in our hearts in the world. That's a serious question. Whether it's internal issues like above where he's trying to deal with his own flaws and punishing himself and then accepting the fact that, oh fuck, I'm just gonna die and go to hell. Or just regular shit like, why can't we have peace in our hearts? Why is there always something coming up?
Yeah.
You know, and again, the irony, I'm stepping out of the meta-narrative here, the irony of a person saying dreams don't come true for people like us. Hello, you're in a famous rock band. What do you mean dreams don't come true for people like you?
Yeah.
What the hell are you talking about? You know what that means? It means that he had a dream of what it meant to be a famous rock star, that now that he attained it,
it's not what he thought
it's not what he thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
And it's like...
Oh, that's tough.
You know, so it's that's a tough reality. One of the worst things in the world is to achieve the thing that you desperately wanted all your life.
And it's not what you thought.
It's one of the most traumatic experiences. And you see this in cartoons with, you know, Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah.
The fun of the show was, oh, is he gonna...
Yeah.
Is he gonna get him? And I remember there was like one or two episodes.
Remember that?
One or two episodes where he caught him. And
I do not remember that.
I was so disappointed as a kid.
What happened when he would catch you? What would he do?
He basically let him go because of that. Seriously.
Well, you remember Megamind? That little cartoon where he thinks he overcomes the big strong guy, and then he's like the main guy, and then he's so bored with life, he goes around graffitiing and stealing and all that, but then he's like, oh, I have to create somebody to fight against.
Yeah, like we all know this subliminally, like whatever your major dream is, once you get it, forget it. Like seriously, like I think about that with us. I'm like the struggle and the hardship and the all that to get to full time. Mm-hmm. Like I'm definitely gonna like our life when we get to full time, but at the same time, it's like I'm gonna miss the
oh, what the fuck?
The goal.
Oh
you will
gosh.
too.
Are you serious?
You will.
I keep thinking, oh man, when we can go full time, it's gonna be so nice because I feel like it's just working.
It will. Like I don't think he'll trade the rock star life at all. And yeah, we're working 14, 15 hours a day, but like the concept of me and you are gonna get together, we're gonna push, we're gonna have all these ideas to get to this goal.
Yeah.
Once you attain that goal, it's like
you're always gonna be pushing for some new goal. I feel like you could never be goalless.
Well, it's true.
Right.
And that's why, because that's how I figured it out. I figured it out because I said to myself, okay, once you hit that, you're going to be completely wrecked. You got to come up with something else. Otherwise, you're done. It's like Ryu from Street Fighter.
Oh my gosh.
Like, you know, you beat the game with Ryu, and the next thing you see him, like Ken, if you beat the game with Ken, he goes off and marries his girl.
Yeah.
But Ryu,
he keeps going.
You beat the game with Ryu, the next thing you see him, he's under a waterfall practicing his kata, doing his shit, you know?
Uh-huh.
And then it's like, what's he gonna do now? And it's like, and then the next thing he's like walking down the road looking for another challenger.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You're like let's climb Katahdin, and I'm like, well, Davis Mountain. That's cool.
He's figured it out. You gotta figure that shit out.
He's pushing me more. But then at the same time, it is. It's exciting. There's a part of me that's like, okay, well, there's another thing. But my gosh, my lord.
Then we see bright and clear as if we would be someone else, while mindlessly wandering through the mountains as if we would be someone better, spelling purgatory in Latin alphabet. That's interesting. These guys probably have a Catholic background.
Yeah.
You know, because prior to Vatican II, you're doing Latin Mass.
Yep.
Right? Mm-hmm. Was it the extraordinary form? Is that the technical term for the?
Oh, I don't know.
Latin Mass, I'm pretty sure that's the extraordinary form.
Might be. I don't remember them saying that. I just remember them saying it was all in Latin.
Wandering through the mountains. Yeah, we're no spoilers, but you know, we're watching this show and the guy's son like wants to find himself, so he goes and wanders through the mountains. Yeah. This is a motif like Jesus, Moses, you go off into the wilderness and then you come back a different person. It's a motif.
Right.
Right? Like, and
which
so it's
mirrors
like,
the struggle of our lives.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, so you want to be someone else, so you're gonna do that and then like spell purgatory in Latin. That's very interesting because like the Latin Mass is like the high, very closest to God, and so if you can learn Latin and hear what the guy's saying, but in reality you're doing all that shit just so that you can spell purgatory. You're just gonna end up in purgatory.
Oh my gosh.
And you're gonna do San Espacio until you get out. You know what I mean? Like that's a brilliant way.
Wow.
To talk about
but then his
efforts.
Because he says, as if we could be someone better, and then he goes into self-critique, missed the right tree, tore the wrong eye out.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to do all this shit, and it's going to amount to nothing. Like, you're not going anywhere.
Well, you're going to suffer.
Right. Yeah, but as far as you're not going to change, your life's not going to get better, and your dreams aren't going to come true.
You're not going to become a better person.
Yeah. That's why I said
you're not going to be someone else.
No.
You know, like, you're stuck being yourself. That's one of the things that people have to deal with is like accepting who they are as a person. You know all these people that like get so upset that they're not accepted by society.
Yeah.
It's because they don't accept themselves. If they accepted themselves, they wouldn't give a fuck what society thought. The reason that you want society to accept you is because you don't accept yourself. But if you get enough voices telling you that they accept you, then you can override the voice in yourself that's telling you that you reject yourself.
Yeah, I think you're right.
True.
I think you're right.
It's very true.
Why do we care so much about what society thinks, though?
Because most of us reject ourselves. Most of us hate ourselves. And there's a voice inside that's saying, you suck, you're terrible,
No, I mean,
blah, blah,
that's
blah.
the wrong question. Why do we hate ourselves? Why do we reject ourselves?
I think that I think a lot of human beings have, you know, no matter what people want to say, I got somebody that anytime I talk about sin and original sin, they always say, is Christianity forcing guilt on people?
Yeah.
You can't, you cannot force guilt on, like for example, if somebody came to
I was just going to say, if somebody came up to me and said, you stole that car and you should feel terrible about it.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Oh, okay. Crazy person.
But if somebody said, you're a violent person, and you have violent ideation, and you have a very short, you know, temper when it comes to this and this and this people, you might get defensive. Because it's true. Well, I might get defensive because it's true.
Yeah.
Like they're, you know, and so it's like, so like when Christians say, yeah, you were born in sin and shapen in iniquity, and people react to that.
Yeah.
They don't laugh. They get very angry.
Yeah.
Now, granted, from a sociological perspective, I'm sure they've lived in cultures that like emphasize that and didn't talk about original sin in a constructive way. Because there's a very constructive way to deal with original sin, and there's a very destructive way. There's an encouraging way to think about original sin and a very discouraging way to think about it. And so if it's like, if the message is, you were born in sin, you suck, I hate you, God hates you, you should hate yourself, then of course it's going to be destructive. If it's, look man, do your best, but you're gonna fuck up because you were born in sin.
Yeah.
Okay, but there's an atonement for you. Jesus died for you. You're good. And, you know, and God will work on you on the inside out. But you got to be patient with yourself. Mm-hmm. That's something completely different.
Yeah.
And so, like, here's what I'm thinking. What I'm thinking is, all of us know inherently that there's something wrong with us.
Yeah.
Whether or not you've ever heard anything, and so because of that, where do you put that?
Yeah.
And so you resent yourself, you hate yourself because you know the problem, but you don't know the solution. So there's a lot of resentment and self-hatred. And so you got to have, you know, and this is sort of like my philosophy that I'm working out at some. You've got to have external voices tell you something.
Yep.
And because your internal voice is a circle of destruction. So like if you my external voice is what God says about me. Hey man, you were made in my image. I love you. I designed you to rule the world. I crowned you with glory and honor. You fucked it up because you sinned. There's an atonement for you. Jesus died for you, and he's going to restore God's image in you. That's who you are. Boom. Okay, then that's who I am. Any other message, whether it's me or anybody in society, really doesn't apply. That's it. Simple. And so you get to the point where you don't need external validation about anything.
Yeah.
But everybody wants to be someone else, as if we would become someone else. That's what it says right there. This is a lot of pain, man. This like cuts to the core of a lot of shit.
Yeah.
A lot
As
of
if all
people.
this was something more than another footnote on a postcard from nowhere. Another chapter in the handbook of exercises in futility. I really thought that was really, I liked that part.
Yeah, I know. And then at the end, when the rah!
Yeah, the voice that he was doing, and like, who reads the footnotes on postcards?
Oh. I read footnotes in books all the time.
Yeah, but this is a
where I know-
postcard.
that's how I know to buy the other
Babe,
books.
if somebody writes you a card and gives it to you, you have basically zero interest in
Well,
cards.
nobody ever puts a footnote on a postcard anyway. I think it's,
No, I thought it was, when you get a postcard, there's a footnote on there that tells you about that card.
That's not a footnote.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
That would be considered a footnote?
No, a footnote is when a work references another work.
Yeah,
So,
the
like-
art on the front references where it's from. It does. I mean, that's what it's doing.
But that's not a footnote, though.
Have you ever seen a footnote on a postcard?
No.
Okay.
I don't think that's where he's. I think you're over literalizing what he's saying.
Okay.
A footnote is. I think he's probably talking about the Bible, to be honest with you.
Okay, can you pull his legs?
It's a footnote on a postcard to nowhere. So a postcard is what you send somebody if you're in a different place,
Yeah.
right? A footnote is when an author references another author,
Okay.
right? So if I'm saying that's but he's saying the postcard is from nowhere.
Yeah. So that means the footnote is friggin' useless. No.
Well,
according
no,
to yours.
the footnote-
According to mine, the footnote is useless.
No, we're both saying the footnote is useless. What I'm saying is he's probably talking about the Bible. Or any religious text, because it's like you're quoting these authors.
You could be right. Another chapter in the handbook for
and you're
exercise.
saying it's coming from God, so that's
Yep.
where the postcard comes in. See what I'm saying? Oh, really? He's from heaven. Oh, so somebody from some distant land sent you some postcard. Oh, and your footnote, because now here I am as an author or creator, and I'm quoting the Bible.
Yeah.
But the Bible is just a postcard from nowhere. I'm saying it's the word of God
Right.
from heaven. It's theopneustos.
Right.
It's God breathed. But he's saying, dude, it's a postcard from nowhere. There's nobody up there that sent you anything.
Wow. I think you're right.
Another chapter in the handbook, because you know
Right, and you're saying each
the
chapter
Bible
is
is a
Christianity, the
handbook.
Quran,
The Quran, whatever.
all of them become
he's
chapters in this
probably
handbook.
talking about Christianity because that's probably his milieu.
Well, yeah, I mean,
You
you
got
started with the cross,
purgatory
and he
and
referenced that
Cross,
the eye.
tearing out your
Yeah.
eye, all that shit. And so
Wow.
it's like,
Wow, dude.
brilliant.
Yep.
And there's a lot of biblical imagery here, and we spent some,
Yep.
I want to listen to this right after. I know you're going to edit, but I want to listen to the song again, like right after the official version.
Yeah. I have time to listen to it.
What do you give the song?
To be honest with you, I'm giving it a 10.
I agree. I knew it was going to be a 10.
You knew?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Like, as we were listening to it, or you knew before it started?
No, I didn't know it was going to be a 10 till the very end.
Yeah.
And once I hit
I didn't
that-
either.
Once I hit that, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, once we got to the number was going up, and then I'm like, nah, this is a 10. This one's a 10.
All right, good. It's a 10. Hey, look, if you have issues like some of the issues we talked about, find a way to get help. You only have two options, right? You can either not get help and get worse, or get help and get better, or at least give yourself a shot to get better.
Yeah. Well, where do they go for that? You just
I
Google.
have no idea. I just think that I don't think that the place to go is the issue. I just think the the mentality is
talking
the issue.
about it.
The mentality, you just gotta have that mentality. The mentality is the issue. You know?
Yeah.
So, so there's that.
Yikes.
I think that's important to say.
Oh, well, we'll be praying for you too.
Yeah, I mean,
We're gonna get hate mail for this.
I don't think we're gonna get hit.
How the fuck did we pray for that? You know what I mean? People always, because the last time we kind of brought this subject up, people were mad at us for like having anything other than just disgust and whatever. Like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's our worldview. Our worldview that everybody's redeemable. Nobody's beyond God's reach. So, sorry, not sorry. What do you give it? 10?
Of course.
Vin out.
Sorry out.
Go. I was supposed to do this and then this, but
Whatever.
I'll just do peace like all around because the song's about peace and stuff.
Okay.
Vin out.
Sorry out.
Gone.